Turning our attention now to the ASX, here's Matt Birney and Bulls and Bears with the latest public company views and interviews.
Welcome to Bulls and Bears, where we break down the latest ASX announcements from public companies that are doing interesting things. Today's Bulls and Bears report is brought to you by 88 Energy, ASX code 88E. I'm Matt Birney and I'm joined now on 6PR by the Managing Director of 88 Energy, Dave Wall. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
88 Energy is an oil explorer targeting oil reserves on Alaska's lucrative and oil-rich North Slope. The company has secured strategic acreage across the basin with recent activity focused on its Peregrine and Icewine projects. A recent independent study resulted in a massive resource uplift at Icewine, and the company's Peregrine tenure has now attracted a number of suitors who are looking to farm into it. Dave, before we get into that, firstly, I note that you've recently completed a capital raise. It looked like it went pretty well. How much did you raise and what's it going to be used for?
We ended up taking $10 million. We were over 3 times oversubscribed, and really this is just to maintain mainly the leases, because we have to pay rentals on the leases, and also some overheads, and a small amount is being reserved for drilling at Project Peregrine, which is imminent.
We'll come back to Peregrine, but the Icewine project looks like it covers a pretty extensive area. Just how big is Icewine in terms of both acreage and also resources?
Yeah, so our net position at Icewine is over 300,000 acres, which is big by, I guess, global standards. And you mentioned earlier the big resource upgrade, which is really the result of integration of a well that we drilled earlier this year, which was successful, albeit during the kind of COVID times, and we've had a big upgrade of, over 1.8 billion barrels of oil independently assessed, and that will be the subject of a farm out that we're going to do next year.
Okay, so the Peregrine project looks like it's a bit of a focus for you right now. How did that project come to be in your portfolio, and what's to like about it?
I mean, this was a project that we acquired by an off-market takeover of another listed company, XCD Energy, and for the reasons, you kind of alluded to, there is a lot to like about it. It's on trend to existing discovery made by ConocoPhillips in the same play type, and in that play type, there's been over 2 billion barrels discovered on the North Slope in the last 5 or 6 years, and we're chasing a 650 million barrel target in our first well and 400 million in the second well, and that's what has attracted, these multiple suitors that you referenced, and we're on the cusp of just documenting up the preferred bidder that we selected last week.
What's the resource at Peregrine at the moment?
It's 1.6 billion barrels in total, and the 2 wells that we're planning to drill early next year will target over 1 billion barrels of that potential.
And just quickly, what's next in terms of news flow for the company?
So importantly, obviously closing out the farm out, which is low risk. We've all done our due diligence on each other. So that'll happen towards the end of this month or early next month. And then we'll have a rig contract and all the other associated news associated with drilling that you'd expect, such as rig mobilisation, rig up and spud of the well in mid to late February. And then about 3 weeks before we have the result of the first well, so sometime in late March. And then we'll go and bud the second well if we have time, weather dependent.
Dave Wall from 88 Energy, thanks very much for joining me on 6PR today. And just remember, Bulls and Bears is only here to give you information, not advice, which you should of course seek independently. I'm Matt Birney. Thanks for listening to Bulls and Bears.
For more public company CEO interviews, go to the Money page at 6pr.com.au and click the Public Companies tab.